Have you ever felt like time is slipping through your fingers, leaving you trapped in routines that no longer excite you? Have you ever wondered if it's too late to rediscover the spark of joy and purpose? Paulo, a man once resigned to a life of monotony, proves that transformation is always possible, even when it feels like time is against you. In this video, we'll uncover the small but profound changes that reignited Paulo's zest for life, reshaped his mindset, and inspired an entire community. Through his story, you'll discover the power of small habits to spark massive change, how to break free from limiting beliefs, and why it's never too late to rewrite your story. Stay with us until the end, because Paulo's journey isn't just a story, it's a guide to transforming your own life. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, we encourage you to click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. Eager to hear your thoughts on today's topic. If you enjoy this content, please comment 1 below. If it doesn't resonate with you, leave a 0. Your feedback is crucial. It helps me create better videos that align with your interests. Now let's get started. Paulo loved a life shrouded in monotony. The thrill and vibrancy he once dreamed of his existence had become a series of predictable days, marked by the quiet hum of loneliness and an unspoken resignation to the passage of time. Widowed for over a decade, he had retreated into a cocoon of routine. Mornings started with a steaming cup of strong coffee, and a slice of buttered bread. Evenings ended with him slouched in front of the flickering glow of his television. The aches that rippled through his body, the constant fatigue which dulled his spirit, and the lingering sense of emptiness seemed to him like the unavoidable toll of growing older. And miserable. He wasn't in pain, but wasn't truly living either. At first, Paulo thought this was just part of aging, that the spark he once had was a thing of the past, but deep inside, Aquia thought nagged at him, is this really all there is? Each morning felt Paulo's life before the shift. Routine, resignation, and loneliness. Same the smell of his coffee, the warmth of his chair, the way the world outside his window moved forward while remained still. It all blurred together. There was a time when he would wake up with excitement, when his day showed purpose, when he laughed more, moved more, felt more, but somewhere along the way he had lost touch with that part of himself. When he looked in the mirror, hadn't just seen an aging man, he saw someone who had settled, someone who had let time make decisions for him instead of taking charge. His body was slowing down, his social life had faded, and he had convinced himself that this was just how life went after a certain age. He remembered his younger self, full of dreams and ambitions, and wondered when that version of him had disappeared. Leanness had crept in, slowly disguised discomfort. He had routines, yes, but they were empty. He spoke less, engaged less, and even the smallest of changes, like taking a different route on his walk, felt. What was the point? He told himself. He was content, but deep down he knew contentment was just another word for stuck. The worst part, had accepted it, he thought, about reaching out to old friends, but convinced himself they were too busy. He considered joining a local group or trying something new, but the thought of stepping outside his comfort zone felt exhausting. The weight of ifs kept him exactly where he was, stagnant, but deep inside something still stirred. A small nagging voice reminded him of the man he used to be, the man who once took risks, who once dreamed of traveling, of learning new things, of falling in love again. Thought voice grew louder with each passing day. Then one day everything changed. Then something unexpected happened on one of his usual walks, slow, unremarkable, more out of habit than enjoyment. Paulo saw her. Clara. She wasn't just jogging, she was alive. There was an energy about her, an effortless vibrancy that made her seem untouched by the weight of time. That day she paused. Smiling, she looked directly at Paulo and said, "You know, it's never too late. The hardest part is believing that." Her words lingered in his mind long after she disappeared down the path. The moment that changed everything. A chance encounter with Clara. She'll be right. Could he realize him? At his age, was it possible? The very thing he believed about getting older was wrong. At first he dismissed the idea, but something about her presence, her undeniable vitality, made Paulo question the beliefs that had confined him for so long, and so he decided to test the waters. His first change was small, almost insignificant. Of white bread and butter, had treated oatmeal with fruit. It seemed ridiculous, but within days he noticed it's something. He wasn't as sluggish in the mornings. Encouraged, he made another small adjustment, stretching after he woke up. His muscles resisted at first, if from years of neglect, but little by little they loosened. Then came through walks. Clara invited him to join her at first. He hesitated, but somehow urged him forward, and so he walked, slowly, cautiously, but with purpose. With each step, something in him shifted. It wasn't just the movement, it was the realization that he was making a choice to engage, to participate, to try. Had spent years waiting for something to change, never realizing that change had to start with him. Clara's presence became a reminder, proof that energy, purpose, and excitement weren't reserved for the young. They were choices, and Polo was finally making them as time went on. He found himself looking forward to his walks. He started noticing things he had long ignored: the crisp morning air, the laughter of children in the park, the way his body felt lighter, stronger, and more than that, he started feeling like himself again. It wasn't a miracle, it wasn't a dramatic transformation overnight, but it was something real, a slow, steady shift with the life he thought he had lost, and for the first time in years he was excited to see where the next step would take him. Transformation never comes without resistance. Doubt crept in. Maybe it started too late. Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I should just accept things the way they are. One day, as he and Clara sat on a park bench watching the sun dip below the horizon, he voiced his fears. "I think it's too late for me," he admitted. The power of small changes, from bread to oatmeal, from isolation to walksh's voice, laced with uncertainty. Clara turned to him, her gaze steady to latently. "Happens when you decide to stop trying," she said. "As long as you're moving even just a little, you're still creating your story." And so he kept going. Paulo didn't wake up one morning suddenly transformed. It wasn't an overnight change, but as the weeks passed, he noticed small shifts that added up to something remarkably. Energy returned, his posture improved, his mind felt sharper, he started sleeping better, and most importantly, he started looking forward to things again. There was no grand moment of realization, no sudden epiphany, just a series of doses that led him back to himself, and that was more powerful than any instant transformation ever could be. What Paladon realized was that his change wasn't just about him, it was about the people around him. To his friends and family began to take notice. "What's your secret?" they asked, curious about their renewed energy in his voice, in his step. At first, Paula lauded off, but then he realized something powerful. His transformation wasn't just personal, it was contagious. Doubt, resistance, and the truth about starting light. His nephew, a young man struggling with motivation, started joining him for morning walks. Old friends who had also resigned themselves to routine called him up and asked to meet for coffee. The lesson was clear: when you change yourself, you unconsciously give others permission to change too. Paulo wasn't just reclaiming his own life, he was showing others that they could do the same. The more he embraced his newfound energy, the more people around him his neighbor, who used to wave from a distance but never spoke much, Lee, struck up a conversation. A longtime friend who had lost touch reached out after noticing Paulo's enthusiasm in a social media post. Even strangers at the bar would nod at him, as if they too recognized the shift in his presence. It became clear to Paulo that transformation isn't just a personal journey, it's a ripple effect. When you decide to live differently, others take notice. When you become more engaged, you attract connection, and when you show up in the world as the best version of yourself, you inspire thoughts around you to do the same. For years, Paulo had believed that getting older meant fading into the background, but now how personal growth creates a ripple effect in others saw the truth. His choices mattered not just for himself but for everyone around him. Paulo's story isn't just his, it's yours. To the choice to change is in your hands. You don't need a dramatic overhaul, you don't need to wait for the moment. Change begins with a single decision, a small shift in the right direction. Maybe that shift is taking a 10-minute walk today. Maybe it's choosing a healthier meal. Maybe it's calling an old friend or stepping out of your comfort zone. Even in the smallest way, what matters is that you start back. As the truth is transformationist about luck or timing, it's about action. One small choice leads to another, and before you know it, you're moving forward in ways you never imagined. So that's one small step you're willing to take today. Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your journey, and stay tuned because in our next video, I'll reveal the #1 habit that keeps men over 50 feeling youthful and full of energy. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.